Well, holy guacamole, guys. I can't believe the day we just had on the stock markets, especially when it comes to space companies, because it was a lot. By the way, I'm Dave. Thank you for tuning in as always. Before we dive into the big news around AST SpaceMobile, Rocket Lab, Lunar, Redwire, Spire Global, and of course Terran Orbital, please do consider hitting that subscribe button down below as it really helps out with the channel growth. If you already are subscribed, thank you so much, and I will check out your comments down below as well. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive into this edition of Space Stock Updates. First of all, of course, we need to talk about AST SpaceMobile having an absolutely massive day. Unbelievable, 50% gains. Congratulations to all the AST shareholders out there. Yeah, that's all I can say is congratulations. Really amazing stuff. So the company recently just had their earnings call yesterday. Obviously, it was very well received by investors. Probably also helps that the macro markets as well are looking extremely positive today on some of the bigger picture news going on with job reports and all that kind of thing. Apparently, we also have footage of AST's CEO going to the earnings call, so let's take a look at that. I did pull that from one of the Space Mob gang postings on Twitter. You guys are a riot sometimes. Thank you for sharing that. But yeah, turning back to AST, some quick highlights from their earnings call talking about why this reaction was so extreme, 50% plus, as I said. So obviously their first 5 satellites have arrived at the Cape. They're getting ready for a launch window in September, and everything is looking good for that launch. When it comes to their next gen Block 2 Bluebird satellites, they have 17 satellites under planning and production already. They expect initial nationwide non-continuous service to be available with AT&T test beta users following a short activation period after those initial 5 satellites get launched. They're looking at about 5,600 beta users to be supported with cell phones in that premium low band spectrum range. They ended June 30th with $278 million in cash plus $51 million in available credit financing, and I believe they do have some milestone payments coming up as well, which should boost their liquidity even further. So zooming out a bit to talk about AST SpaceMobile, I know I've talked about it previously a lot, and it's getting a lot of discussion right now on the internet, and for good reason. I mean, just look at this stock in terms of zooming out all the way to when they went public. Just a massive run over the past few months. We're talking about a 10x now. It was $3, maybe 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, and now we're in the 30s. A lot of people on Twitter and Rocket Lab shareholders as well have been a little, I guess annoyed is the right word, maybe. They've been saying, like, why is AST doing so well? They're not making enough money. Look at this price to sales ratio. Look at this, look at that. It's not fair. You guys suck. We're better, blah, blah, blah. And I just feel like we're all on the same team here, you know? I think the AST investors, Rocket Lab investors, we're all Team Space. I feel like arguing and saying which one should have been the better investment is silly. Obviously, I've put more money into Rocket Lab than AST, and I still believe in Rocket Lab. But to the AST shareholders, I just have to say congratulations, because when you zoom out and look at this long-term chart, like, they went through a good deal of pain before they got to this point, especially if they were holding since the beginning. They saw their investment, drop by half and then drop by half again. They're looking at, like, $2 share prices when they went public at $10. So it could have been extremely difficult for them, especially if they bought in the post-SPAC pop. So if they had the conviction to hold through all that pain and continue averaging down, buying more shares, and they really believed in the company and they had that knowledge and belief, all I can do is sit back and say congratulations to you. Well done. That's what investing is all about. I love it when retail shareholders come together, do a great amount of research, and really understand a company. And to be frank, I love to see the retail shareholders being rewarded liquid as opposed to the big institutions. Like, who cares if those guys get a 10x return? But when you guys out there investing your own money get a 10x and it's life-changing, that's what this is all about to me. So congratulations to AST investors. The other thing to remember as Rocket Lab investors is really, the whole goal of Rocket Lab Space Systems is that they want a Rocket Lab piece of equipment on every single thing that goes into space, whether it's a solar panel, whether it's like some structural bodies with their carbon fiber, reaction wheels, star trackers, whatever. They want to have a piece of Rocket Lab tech on everything that goes into orbit. So to me, when space wins, Rocket Lab wins, and AST winning is chalking one up on the board for space, and it's good for everyone. I don't think AST wants to launch with SpaceX down the line because SpaceX wants to compete with them with their Starlink offering. So of course they don't want to give their hard-earned money back to SpaceX. Soon as Neutron comes online, maybe that's something AST will think about, and maybe these companies can work together even more closely in the future. At least I hope so. People are asking me if I'm interested in buying AST shares at this level. And you know what? I have nothing against the company. And as I said, congratulations to everyone who did well. I just can't bring myself to buy a stock that has 10x'd in this short period of time. Several years ago when I was newer in investing, I got caught on a couple stocks chasing the FOMO, or fear of missing out. I saw companies do like this kind of thing where they 10x'd, and I figured, I got to get in on this. And that's exactly the wrong time to buy usually. And obviously I didn't do well on those companies. Luckily, there were very small positions and I learned a lot from that. So I kind of just have a rule for myself. I'm not buying anything that has 10x'd in 4 months. I think it's pretty reasonable, and I'm not saying it's a bad company. And in fact, I'm open to investing in them in the future. If there is a significant pullback, I will keep an eye on them and I will do more research. I don't consider myself an expert on AST just yet, so I don't have the conviction to buy a company that has gone through this kind of a move, but it's something I want to learn more about in the future. And hopefully those AST SpaceMob folks out there on Twitter, Reddit, and all the rest can help, educate me on the company. People talk a lot about price to earnings ratios and stuff on this company, and I think that misses the point. The money that's coming in right now doesn't really represent the end state of the company. It's more of a binary play, really. So I don't think valuing it based on current price to sales or anything like that is really the way to go. Anyway, that's enough about AST. Congratulations to all you stockholders out there. Let me know down in the comments if you are taking some well-deserved gains, maybe buying yourself a nice car, having a vacation. I'd love to hear about it. Let me know down below. I know there's a lot of people that are going to hold on for dear life and they think that this is just the beginning, but I'm just curious to hear all your different perspectives down below. And hopefully one day Rocket Lab will have 50% plus day like this as well. But speaking of Rocket Lab, they had quite a good day themselves, up around 10+%, so nothing to scoff at. They were up 13+% at one point, and really just a great day for Rocket Lab as well. And most space companies that are publicly traded, they did get a buy weighting reiterated by KeyBank, so I think that was a part of the move, but it really jumped partway through the day. I think around 1 p.m. we were looking at like a nice day, but kind of just in line with the beta and following the markets, and then it just jumped like out of nowhere. So that was nice, and obviously congrats to your Rocket Lab shareholders as well on the great day. Hopefully that will continue. I think we also have some news from Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, so let's jump to that.
Boeing Starliner breaking news.
It's still stuck.
This has been your Boeing Starliner breaking news.
Redwire. Now that was an interesting one today as well. They did just announce last evening a acquisition. They're acquiring a small satellite manufacturing company. Now this is a very small company, and it really caught me off guard that they were acquiring someone. Talk more about that in a second. But basically this company called Hera Systems reported $15 million in revenue for the year ending in December 2023. So basically $15 million in 2023. Redwire expects them to already be profitable and for them to contribute to profitability, which is an important point for Redwire. They can't really be acquiring unprofitable companies at this point. Looking at Redwire's cash situation, now this is what surprised me a little bit. They said they didn't disclose all the financial details, but they're funding it based on their own balance sheet and not issuing new shares. They only have $30 million currently on their balance sheet, plus an extra 20 odd million of available debt financing available. So 50 million in liquidity, but 30 million of their own money. And to be buying a company in that situation took me off guard. They are adjusted EBITDA positive though, so they're not really burning capital at this point. And though they're net income negative, a lot of that would just be like, stock-based compensation and that sort of thing where the losses are coming from, but we're not really seeing the cash balance drop, which is good. So hopefully it's a safe move for them and they can continue to grow using this acquisition. They say it'll really help with their government and defense type work, which is a big portion of the space industry these days. And as a result of the acquisition, Redwire has adjusted its full year guidance up. They're now looking at about $310 million for the year instead of $300 million. So if you think about that in terms of we're now in August, if you think, okay, there's 4-ish months left in the year, they're looking at 10 million extra in revenue for the remainder of the year. Maybe the company is making about 30 million a year right now. Again, last year they made 15, so that's a double. That's pretty darn good. Very small company though. I don't think they have that many employees, and it'll be interesting to see what Redwire does with them and how it fits into that portfolio. They also have those VLEO satellites as well. And then just quickly, Lunar also having a good day. Looks like it was mostly driven by the overall markets, although they did have their own earnings call just recently and mentioned they're interested in taking over NASA's Viper rover. That's probably deserving of its own video at some point, but it's nice to see Lunar as well having a good day on the markets. And now to some of the not so good news. So unfortunately, today seems to be like euphoria or disaster. We have a good chunk of space stocks that are absolutely soaring and having a really great day. And then we have a couple other space stocks that are in disaster mode right now, and it's really rough. So starting off with Terran Orbital, this company's been in trouble for quite a while. It's been no secret, and I've kind of been following them for a while. Stock price below $1. They're starting to run out of capital over the past several quarters, several months. Basically, the way their backlog looks, they have two main customers. One is Rivada, trying to make this massive constellation, and the other is Lockheed Martin. Now, Lockheed Martin is also a shareholder in the company. I think they've got like a 1/3 stake or something like that. And Rivada is really just not materializing. They're not getting the payments. It doesn't seem like it's a real customer. And in fact, they just recently removed the numbers of the Rivada orders from their backlog, which leaves 91% of their backlog being just from Lockheed Martin. So it's almost just like a company solely devoted to building Lockheed Martin satellites at this point. And with cash dwindling, they're going to be working on SDA satellites for Lockheed, not unlike what Rocket Lab is doing. So definitely do have some big important contracts, but just don't have the cash to get through to see that to fruition. The weird thing that really pisses me off, if I'm being honest, is that Lockheed made an offer to buy this company several months back for $1 per share. Management was extremely against that. They didn't want to get taken over. They tried to adopt a poison pill measure to prevent a hostile takeover, and the acquisition didn't happen. Eventually, Lockheed withdrew their offer. And at the time, I was very puzzled, and I was like, maybe management has a rabbit they can pull out of their hat somewhere and that they know something we don't. But looks like today they didn't know something we don't, because now they've accepted an offer to get taken over by Lockheed for 25 cents a share. So a few months ago, they could have got their shareholders $1 per share. Now they're getting 25 cents per share. Of course, they're also taking over the debt situation as well, so that's something. But I really feel bad for Terran Orbital shareholders here. I was even talking to someone on Twitter yesterday about it. He was kind of asking me, like, what would you do in this situation? Do you think they can turn it around? And I was just like, no, but maybe Lockheed comes back with their $1 offer. But it looks like Lockheed played hardball with them. They called the bluff of Terran's management and got an even better deal. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's that guy on Twitter and other retail shareholders like him who really get screwed over here, and like the CEO is probably going to end up being fine. You know, it always seems to work out like that. So a little frustrated how this one ended up, and I really feel for any of the retail shareholders out there who were remaining, but they'll be getting 25 cents a share. Again, this company probably went public for $10 a share like most SPACs did. And then, of course, finally, we have Spire Global also having a horrible day today. This is an interesting one as well because they just filed a form with the Security Exchange Commission. It was a 12B-25 form, which means they were notifying of a late quarterly filing. Never a good look for a company if they can't file their quarterly reports on time. This is due to the company being in the process of reviewing its accounting practices and procedures with respect to recognition related to certain contracts in its space as a service business. Now, the interesting thing here is that the money in question is only about $10 to $15 million annualized in terms of how they're dealing with that in the accounting and looking at it. So it's not actually that much money in question if it does even end up changing the numbers on, you know, their balance sheet or income statements or anything like that. But I think what is really at play here is just people now being shaken in their confidence in the management, maybe not believing that they really know what they're doing and that they have everything under control. Often when a company misses their quarterly results like this, it's just kind of a sign that the management may not be as competent as you think. And I think more than the numbers at play themselves is just this shakeout is due to people maybe losing confidence in management a little bit with this company, which is a shame because they had really turned it around over the past few quarters. And after, you know, really dipping down, seemed like they were a kind of decent comeback story. They are an Earth observation company, I believe, in the synthetic aperture radar spectrum, so not dealing with visual spectrum as much, but an interesting company. I was really hoping they could turn it around. Maybe they still can. It's not massive dollars, but if you really believe in this company's management, maybe you're willing to give them a pass on this one and think it was just a one-off issue. If you were already kind of sketchy on whether this management knew what they were doing, then this is certainly probably something that's going to push you to sell. So Spire shareholders, let me know how you're feeling as well down below about this news. Is it overblown? Is the sell-off justified? I believe it was like 30% or something like that. So pretty significant, especially in the context of a massive up day for the overall markets. So that's it for today. Congratulations on your gains if you're a shareholder of AST or Rocket Lab or Lunar or MDA. And sorry if you're a shareholder of Spire and Terran Orbital. Rough breaks in the space industry. It's really extremely volatile, and you definitely have to do a ton of research if you're going to invest in a speculative area like this. Let me know how you did today, if you're making any trades based on what's happened today, how you're feeling about any of these companies' stocks down below. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.